welcome back to Simply Mastering. This is episode 6, and today we're featuring another track by Chris Dickens. This one is called Rest in Peace. I put some information briefly at the end of the last video I did for Chris's track. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is that Chris actually does build his own electric guitars. He builds them out of cigar boxes, which I think is a really cool thing. And it's definitely one of the reasons why I chose to do another one of the songs from his album, because he uses them exclusively in these recordings. Every one of the songs on his albums uses these custom-built guitars. Now, Chris builds them, he sells them. I believe he has a Facebook profile. I'll check that out and put it in the description. And you guys can check that out as well. It's really interesting. And I've got some images here that I've been showing you on the screen. These are the guitars that he builds, and I think it's really awesome that he's managed to use them and get such a good sound out of something he's built himself, out of a cigar box of all things. I mean, I'd never heard of anyone doing that before, but again, I think it's awesome that he's doing that. So go ahead and check him out. Now, a little bit about the mix here today. As always, I'm going to play through it here in just a moment. Now, I encourage you to go ahead and pause the video if you want to take a listen to it yourself. Maybe go through it a couple of times, get familiar with it. It's not bad. It's a really good mix. He had recorded most of this himself and had it mixed by someone else. But what I want you to pay attention to, as always, is the frequency balance and the amount of compression that the mix has, so that we can make the best decisions possible when it comes to mastering the track. So I am going to go ahead and play this now, and I'll get back to you guys in just a moment. All right, one of the things that I hear right off the bat is that the 3K region is a little pokey. It's sticking out a little bit too far. I think that has to do with the fact that these are custom-built guitars, but again, I think it works, and I think it's something that we can definitely address when we do our equalization. The compression sounds pretty good. I don't think we'll have to do too much of that, but one of the things that I want to follow through with from the last video is that I'm going to be using the Lurssen mastering console here. So we're just going to sort of let the LMC handle all of that compression for us. Now, I believe I mentioned a couple things about this in the last video I did for Chris's song. And that is that I think the plugin is great. It sounds really good, except that it has a limitation. And that is that these bands are not adjustable. They're fixed. This one's stuck at 60. We've got one here at 120. Another one at 3K, 6K, and 10K. This is a shelf. This is a shelf. These three in the middle here are bell curves. Now, if we need to adjust 120, that's great. If we need to adjust 3K, that's great. I think what we're going to be doing in this track is turning a bit of that 3K down. Exactly how far is something we will figure out when we do it. But we have 6K. I think we may end up pushing this up a little bit. I'm just sort of guessing. But what happens if we need to do something in between 3K and 120? You know, that's a pretty big gap. And for that, I have two alternate solutions. We're going to be using Ochre again, because I think this works really well with the LMC. And we have our trusty Slick EQM. Now again, I would recommend taking screenshots of your settings if you are using the demo, because the demo does not retain those settings in between sessions. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and turn on the LMC, and we'll just play through the track and see if we can dial in some of that equalization balance that we need here. Once again, I think we're going to be taking out quite a bit of 3K. We're going to try to add a little bit of air in the top. I think it's a little dark. And maybe some warmth in the bottom, but we're going to need something in between these two frequencies. So we'll do the best we can with this, and then we'll use the other two to fill in those gaps. That sounds pretty good. I've got the level up where it's not where I'm going to leave it, but it's in a pretty good place. I think that we may not want to go too much louder than this. Once again, for those of you who are just joining us, I use the VUMT quite a bit from Klanghelm, and the other one I use is the built-in PreSonus VU meter. I don't have that one active in the session this time because I don't think it's important. I just calibrate that one to 6 scale, and I turn the sensitivity all the way down. It gives me the same result as this when set on -10 dBFS. So next thing I want to do, I want to come into my Slick EQ here and start to dial in a few extra EQ adjustments just because I still think that I can improve on the way this sounds with additional equalization before the plugin. I'm going to go ahead and start this over from here or so, and we'll make some more adjustments here. All right, that sounds a lot better already. One more little touch I'm going to add to this. It's going to be very subtle. I'll go ahead and activate all the bands. Set the input trim at 0. Actually, you know what I should do? Let's focus on this for a minute. Input trim on the Ochre plugin. If you've noticed by now, I have another VUNT here in front of it. Now, by setting this at 0, I'm telling the plugin to assume that all incoming signal has an average loudness of -18 dBFS, which is right here at the 0, with this calibrated to -18. So let's actually see what that's doing.
Sound the death bells, it is my dying day. I breathe my last breath, I have passed a new life. When I rest in peace.
So the actual loudness of the track could probably come up another couple of decibels to be optimal for input into Ochre. So let's go ahead and add 2 dBs to each side. Not 20. That would pretty much kill our track. All right, so now that we've got that additional 2 dB of gain added, let's see where we are.
I'll receive new life when I rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Okay, that's a lot better. Now let's I just want to do a couple dBs on each of these bands in various places, and then I think this thing will be pretty close to finished as far as the EQ goes. Sweet. Now that we've got the EQ set, and I think that's in a pretty good place, what I want to do is make sure I go back through here, make sure that nothing's being overcompressed, and make sure that final level is where I want it.
Sound the death bells, it is my dying day. I breathe my last breath, I have passed away. Lie me away, oh, there is no hope for me. But don't fetch the mourners, baby, there's something that they don't see.
Sounds good to me. Let's see. One more thing I want to do. This needs to be adjusted. We have a good 2 or 3 seconds of silence here at the beginning of the track. So let's just say we want to start the track off from right about here after that slide. Maybe I don't want to include that slide. Who knows? Okay, now what I generally like to do is leave about half a second, maybe slightly less than half a second, and you can see if this is on seconds, you can see this. I want to get this to start right around the half-second mark to make sure that, you know, if it starts right up at 0, there's a chance that when you play the song back in a media player that the beginning will get chopped off. I've heard that happen. It's not a good thing. let's put the end of the track over here and see if we've got any empty space at the end we can chop off. Just a little bit, I think. And we'll taper this out. So, whoops. Okay, so we've prepped the track. We've got it sounding pretty good, and I think we can wrap this up. Once again, go ahead and check out Chris Dickens. He's got custom guitars that he makes, custom guitars for sale, and he's used them on this album. This track in particular as well. If you want to check that out, his website is in the description. And I'll put it in the credits to this video as well at the end. And as always, if you like what you've seen, or if you have any ideas, any songs you'd like me to put on the show, go ahead and send them to me. Let me know. Give me some comments. All right, and we'll be back. I believe next time we're going to have some hip-hop on the show. So we'll see you next time. Until then, happy mastering. Bye-bye now.